Bottom of the hour, top of the news, and a senior State Department official tried to cut a deal with the FBI to change the classification level of one of Hillary Clinton's emails. That's according to newly released documents from the Fed's investigation into Secretary Clinton's private server. In those documents, an FBI official, as a note on the side, says State Department Undersecretary Patrick Kennedy, a close aide to Clinton, offered up more spots for agents overseas. The official says Kennedy contacted an unnamed person and said, and I should say, quote, asked his assistance in altering the email's classification for an exchange for a quid pro quo. And that, quote, State would reciprocate by allowing the FBI to place more agents in countries where they are presently forbidden. The Fed say the email was related to the 2012 attack on the U.S. outpost in Benghazi, and they rejected Kennedy's request. Over the summer, the FBI director said Clinton and her team were, quote, extremely careless, unquote, in handling classified information, but there was not enough evidence to recommend any charges. Catherine Harridge has the news, live in Washington. What else are we learning from these FBI records, Kat?
Well, Chef, the FBI records make clear that Patrick Kennedy, one of Secretary Clinton's trusted lieutenants, wanted to do a deal with the FBI over classification of the Clinton emails, something the agents starkly termed a quid pro quo. According to the newly released FBI interviews, Kennedy and an FBI agent discussed a swap. The FBI would downgrade a highly sensitive Clinton email to unclassified, and in return, the Bureau would get these coveted slots for agents overseas. At a follow-up meeting with intelligence agency reps, these documents show Kennedy was determined to shield some of the emails from public release. And it reads in part, Kennedy spent the next 15 minutes debating the classification of the email and attempting to influence the FBI to change its markings. The Republican chairman of the House Government Oversight Committee says there's evidence here of a broad conspiracy.
It wasn't some simple mistake that Hillary Clinton said it was. This is a concerted effort by a number of people to manipulate what was given to Congress, make sure that it never saw the light of day, and support Hillary Clinton.
Chaffetz and the Republican chairman of the House Intelligence Committee, who also received these documents over the weekend, have written to Kennedy's boss, Secretary of State John Kerry, asking for his immediate removal, Shep.
Hey, any word from State Department, Catherine?
Well, at the briefing last hour, the State Department spokesman insisted there was no discussion of a deal or quid pro quo, despite what is black and white on the FBI documents.
Saying the FBI agent either got it wrong or is lying in this 302?
As I understand this, Catherine, this was any idea or any really assertion that this was somehow tit for tat or quid pro quo exchange of in that manner really, frankly, it's insulting.
Fox News is asking the FBI for a news statement, given the State Department is suggesting that the agents are incompetent and misread their discussion with Patrick Kennedy. The White House spokesman this afternoon said Congressman Chaffetz is inclined to overhype these issues, but I would strongly suggest that if people are interested at home, they can go to the FBI website and go to page 26 in the new documents, and they can make up their own mind, Chef.
Catherine Harridge in Washington. Thank you, Catherine.
You're welcome.
There are apparent new emails from Clinton campaign emails and WikiLeaks, and they reveal more details from the Democratic nominee's closed-door speeches to Wall Street executives. The hacked messages apparently come from the email account of the Clinton campaign chairman, yet again, John Podesta. The emails reportedly contain transcripts of paid speeches to Goldman Sachs. One, back in 2013, Clinton apparently told the banking giant that action was necessary to crack down on Wall Street abuses, quote, for political reasons, unquote. According to the hacked emails, the former Secretary of State said, if you were an elected member of Congress and people in your constituency were losing jobs and shutting businesses, and everybody in the press is saying it's all the fault of Wall Street, you can't sit idly by and do nothing. During a tough primary fight, Clinton's former rival Bernie Sanders was critical of her ties to big banks and called on her to release transcripts of her paid speeches to Wall Street. Apparently WikiLeaks is doing it for her. Clinton's campaign hasn't even confirmed nor denied the authenticity of these emails. John Bussey's here. He's the associate editor of the Wall Street Journal. Anything of substance in these things?
Well, that was pretty interesting.
Yeah, I thought so.
That was pretty interesting, saying, look, Dodd-Frank has got to happen, folks, because the public's going to demand it, right? They want greater strictures on Wall Street after the housing crisis and after the banking problems that we've had. So that was pretty interesting. I mean, beyond that, and look, even that issue, to some extent, saying politics is nothing new. politicians do things very often as a result of public demand. But there's kind of a public-private thing there, right? Hammering Wall Street on one hand, and then kind of going to Wall Street and saying, "Hey, look, we're gonna regulate you more, but understand it's mostly just because the public wants us to do it." There's a bit of a gap there, and that's one reason why the Wall Street Journal's most recent poll has Trump ahead of Clinton by 4 percentage points when we ask people who is the more straightforward and honest.
John Pence is speaking. Mike Pence right now, as it so happens, he's live and speaking about this WikiLeaks stuff. Listen.
Also found out from emails released that their campaign was actually in touch with the Justice Department about the timetable of the investigation into her own private server. But this is the big one today. This is a big one today, folks. Whatever they're talking about on the evening news, you got to go read about this one. Today, the FBI confirmed that the State Department offered a quid pro quo to the FBI in exchange for their willingness to reclassify documents that were marked classified on Hillary Clinton's private server. Literally, one of Hillary Clinton's top aides at the State Department contacted the FBI to ask them to change the classification of emails. It really is incredible. So let me just say, Ohio, there's lots of reasons that we got to get this done this year. But for all their years of political favoritism, pay-to-play politics, corruption, and cover-ups, we must resolve that Hillary Clinton will never be elected president of the United States of America.
Mention this same subject again. We'll go back there. John Bussey, he mentioned that there was this contact, and there are documents that suggest there were, so that we're completely accurate on all of this. I want you to know nothing was changed. There was no
classification. Right? The State Department says nothing was changed, but it's the appearance that's going to hang over Clinton on this, and it's the language that was used by a subordinate in trying to get one of these, keep one of these emails downgraded as not classified. So this is going to kind of hang over her for the rest of the campaign. We've seen this concern about what information is going to come out in the FBI investigation. But meanwhile, the WikiLeaks, the emails from her campaign that have been hacked and also released, those are kind of showing a behind-the-scenes activities of a major campaign. Peter Nicholas has a story from the Wall Street Journal online right now. These are less kind of revelatory, but they are showing that the campaign was concerned that she didn't seem likable enough. They were concerned that she hadn't apologized explicitly enough and fulsomely enough to the public for the email for having a private server. It describes kind of a campaign in which she's sort of the chairman of the board, and there's a lot of people around her sort of prepping her. And she feels sometimes that the messages that she's portraying out on the stump are too practiced and not in touch with the people enough. It's a very interesting behind-the-scenes look at the campaign.
It is, and I thought interesting, too, is we have all of these players within the campaign, but I don't see any Clinton emails.
Yeah, the Clinton emails sort of aren't in there, and a lot of that's because many of the decisions made at the time that the hacking occurred were being done with her orally, right? So a lot of this is the prep. This is somebody who's been at a high level of government for a long time, has a lot of aides doing meetings before the meeting to kind of prepare the agenda for the.
I watch Madam Secretary.
There we go. And then
Leone, though. No.
And at the end of the day, she says
I
yes or
want
no.
her to be the vice president.
Yeah, she says yes or no, and that's why you don't see a lot of emails from her. These are, Peter points out, if someone's going to write a book about the campaign, they almost have it written for them in this email collection. Very interesting, but no great sort of smoking gun. This FBI issue is a different problem for her.
Yeah, it is. Is there where are suggestions now in the national polls that all this Trump stuff that's happening now, there's a lot of it on many levels, that it really isn't moving things, that the base is what it is, and the people who are with him are with him. And the same seems to be true with Hillary Clinton and all of this noise, isn't it?
Yeah, that's
at this
right.
point?
I think as you've gone along, you've seen the polls show that those who are part of the established base, their affection for and enthusiasm for their candidate has only grown over time. They've gotten more entrenched. That middle ground, that undecided voter, that independent voter, has swayed a little bit more toward Clinton, and that's why her numbers have gone up. You've got the suggestion of scandal on the Clinton side. You've got problems with Trump and his comments about women and about sexual abuse. Those are going to weigh for the next 3 weeks. My suspicion is that you're going to see those numbers firm up even more. The base supporting their candidate, and there's going to be wavering in the middle.
Yep, just 3 weeks to go.
Yes.
Thank you, John.